Welcome to BPTV. I'm your host, Andy Amrine, and this is one of our Around Town shows. Today we're on the north side, right across the West End Bridge. We're at the Moonshot Museum, and we're going to be visiting with a Bethel Park resident, Mike Hennessy. So I hope you enjoy the show, talking to Mike and learning about this amazing museum and what's going on right here in Pittsburgh. Mike Hennessy, welcome to BPTV, and thank you very much for the invite to come down and enjoy your Moonshot Museum. How about can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah, thanks for joining me today. I'm glad you could be here at Moonshot Museum. We just opened in October of last year, and it's been a dream job really for me. My background is in museum outreach and planetarium work,
okay.
and creating science programs for schools. And so what's so exciting to me about Moonshot Museum is that we are now showing students the real-time work of the space industry, and that we're able to say that there's a place you can plug in the space industry here in Pittsburgh.
Okay, so you've always had a love for the space and the stars and the moon and planets?
Yeah, I've always been a giant space geek, honestly. So,
okay.
I've always had a love for space. My career in museum education, I was at Carnegie Science Center for many years. I was the director of Buell Planetarium. And I think for me, there's just nothing quite like space to fire up the imagination, and I think to symbolize just the best of humanity and what we can achieve when we work together.
What brought you to Bethel Park? When did you move there? How long have you been there?
Oh, so I moved to Bethel Park about 15 years ago.
Okay.
I live near Al's Cafe in that section of Bethel Park, and love it. And got to be at Bethel Park Library just a couple months ago, and it was
Nice.
really energizing, I think, to talk to folks about the work that's happening in our own backyards.
So have you been involved with the creation of this museum as far as the exhibits and so forth from day one?
Yeah, so I had the privilege of joining the team when Moonshot Museum was still a concept, still an idea.
Wonderful.
And working with the exhibit design team to write the text panels and create the interactives that you see throughout the space.
Marvelous, that's fun. So can you tell me a little bit about the partnership with Astrobotics and Moonshot, or you share their building?
Yeah, Moonshot Museum is unique in that, to our knowledge, we're the only museum that's on the same campus as a working space tech company.
Okay.
So this is really the only place in the country that you can come and see spaceships being built from the ground up, the design, the testing in the clean room, and the assembly before they head out into space. So the spaceships that you can see at Moonshot Museum are built by a company called Astrobotic, which is a private company, and they are sending the first commercial lunar lander to the moon later this year. Moonshot Museum is its own independent nonprofit, but it's exciting for me in that we have a window into their work, and even more than that we have volunteers from Astrobotic who are docents that you can encounter during a visit to the museum. For students on field trips, it's an opportunity, I think, to directly ask questions of engineers and technicians and technical writers on just what got them inspired and what a day in their life looks like creating these spaceships.
Do most of their employees come from schools around Pittsburgh, or?
That's a great question.
Because we have a lot to offer in Pittsburgh.
We really do, and with Astrobotic, I see both a national and an international dimension to the space industry. We also see a lot of employees from Western Pennsylvania, and even folks who grew up in the region, pursued careers in aerospace and moved elsewhere, but now they're coming home because Pittsburgh is just booming in terms of aerospace. If you think of Pittsburgh and West Virginia and Eastern Ohio as a single region, it's the third largest in the country in terms of the space industry today.
Wow. So putting the museum together, what were some of your thoughts on putting this together? What aspects of the museum, from spaceships to moons to the future to the past, what all is involved in the museum itself?
Yeah, so Moonshot Museum is a field trip to the future. And I think the idea is it's a future on the moon that we're creating, but also it's our future in Pittsburgh that we're creating together at the same time. So in designing the museum, we wanted it to be immersive, and on a trip to the museum, you can stop by the lunar habitat here. Imagine what living on the moon might be like. You can solve the scientific and technical challenges of finding ice and minerals and designing robots to sustain life. But we also wanted to include the social challenges as well. So you can be part of a Cosmic City Council and sit around the table and debate the issues of the day and create all of the plans for a new society and how it would work on the moon. So,
Okay. Big museum. How many different partitions or rooms or anything do you have?
yeah, so we're a one-room museum. We have 6 different stations that folks can visit.
Okay.
So we have our space debates area where you can be part of that Cosmic City Council and debate space policy. We have a cargo bay where you can go on a scavenger hunt and learn about real people living and working in the South Hills and throughout Pittsburgh in the space industry. You can design a rover in our engineering section. You can sort of explore the geology of the moon and learn about missions from Apollo to today to what's coming up next. And we have an art station where you can design a mission patch and actually scan it, and it will appear on a mountain on the moon.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So do you have all age groups that come and have visited the museum already?
We have, yeah. We've done everything from preschool classes here all the way through high school. So for middle and high schools, we have a field trip called Lunar Settlers, where the entire museum, everything flips over, all the screens do something different, and you're on a team building adventure. And the goal is to basically figure out how to make your moon base survive and thrive as if you're a citizen on the moon 50 years from now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you work directly with different school districts or the Science Center? Do you have any partnerships worked out?
We do have a lot of partnerships, yeah. We've been working with a lot of schools. We've seen Bethel Park here. We had the middle school, and we had Neil Armstrong here just last week. We do have partnerships with the Science Center on everything from preschool programs to career explorations for high school students, where that's part of their time on the North Shore. And we're working with other firms and just building that out. So,
What's your favorite age group coming in here?
that's tough because I do love them all.
Love them,
It is
okay.
it's fun to sit down with a group of high schoolers and think about where they can be in 5 and 10 years, and to know that they might be. Their love might be astronomy, like mine is, or they may be interested in English and writing, or in making and building. And I think there's that discovery for students, even if they weren't interested in space when they came, that they are really excited about space by the time they leave, and knowing that they could plug into the industry. All of that said, I would have to say probably my favorite age to work with is 3rd and 4th graders. We do an awful lot of outreach to school districts as well too, and doing those sort of science and space assemblies where you create an immersive adventure for them and kind of take them on a journey to the moon.
So you actually take a program to the individual schools?
We do, yeah. So we have a lot of schools that come here for field trips, and we'll also come to you. So
You take the rocket ship to them?
basically, we take the rocket ship to them. Yeah.
Well, how about if you take some time and show us around your museum then? We'd love to see
Sure,
it.
yeah, I'd love to.
Mission Control, we have liftoff.
A nice little rocket here, Mike. What do we have?
Yeah, so we have the Vulcan Centaur, and the Peregrine lander built in Pittsburgh by Astrobotic is going to catch a ride to space from Cape Canaveral this year aboard the Vulcan Centaur.
Okay.
It's a ULA rocket. It will take it out of Earth's atmosphere. After the rocket breaks away, Peregrine will head off to the moon under its own power, and that's also when NASA and Cape Canaveral will give control back to Pittsburgh. It's going to be Mission Control Pittsburgh on the north side, flying Peregrine all the way to the moon and handling the landing and the science operations.
So this building's going to be pretty busy.
Yeah, it's going to be extremely busy.
You going to be in the control room too?
We'll see. I'm going to ask.
Well, I hope you do get to be in.
I hope so too.
That's pretty amazing. Now, Astrobotics, I mean, who had the idea for this museum itself?
Yeah, so Astrobotic was a company that really spun out of Carnegie Mellon University.
Okay.
And Astrobotic's CEO, John Thornton, his dream was to, I think, give everybody that window into the work of spaceflight. So from the very beginning, when they knew they were locating here on the north side, he set aside essentially the front door of Astrobotic to become a museum, to have that window into their work.
Amazing. Got to thank him.
Yeah, I think it's just an awesome concept, you know, and for the space industry to have that transparency is going to pay dividends in the long run, right? Because we're going to see students coming in here who will literally see people inches away on the other
Right.
side of the glass in the jobs that they're going to have someday.
Right.
The welders, the technicians, the engineers. So what for me is so exciting is that John had that dream of saying, hey, let's make it a clean room with a wall of windows so that students could imagine themselves on the other side of the glass.
Where they're going to be in 4 years.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then to create this museum to say, here are all the steps you take to get from here to that
there.
kind of job.
All right, so what do you got here, Mike?
All right, Andy, welcome to the rover station. So we're going to
Okay.
design a rover that will need to have power. It will have a sensor for finding ice on the moon, and then a tool for collecting that ice.
Okay.
And the rover is actually inspired by Astrobotic's Cube rovers. So these small but mighty workhorses will be on the moon soon. Drilling for minerals, looking for ice. They'll also be carrying solar panels around at the moon's south pole, kind of power on the go for future astronauts. So this is your chance,
So
though,
that's
to be
an
a
awful
designer.
lot packed into one of these little,
It's an awful lot, yeah.
packed into a little robot.
Yeah,
Okay.
small but mighty for sure. So
All right. So what do we need first? We need power.
you need some power. yeah.
Okay, and a battery. So battery goes in.
So
And
it
it,
looks like that worked pretty well.
okay.
You have some choices of the green sensors will give you options for finding ice on the moon.
Okay.
You got some great luck with this.
There you go.
So that's, a neutron spectrometer. It's a good tool for finding ice.
Okay. And then the last would be the drillers.
Very nice. So you've got a drill, so you can find ice on the moon. And this is a station where you can do multiple challenges, get rovers working in tandem, but really thinking about what's happening behind the glass, because real rovers are being built just like this that are
Okay.
going to the moon.
So at different times while you're at the museum, you actually have the workers from the factory or actually are manufacturing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just behind us is Astrobotic's clean room. So it's very well filtered. Folks in here in white suits and slippers and hairnets to make sure that not a speck of dust or debris gets on the spacecraft. And what you're looking at right now, this is this machined piece of aluminum is part of what will be the largest lunar lander ever.
Wow.
It's called Griffin. It's going to be at the south pole of the moon at the end of next year. It's carrying a NASA robot called Viper to the South Pole on a quest to look for water ice. And wherever we find that ice, that's where we hope to send the first woman on the moon a couple years after that.
Okay. And they'll be assembling the entire rover here.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It really
It
is.
is.
And I
It's
think,
amazing.
throughout 2023 and most of 2024, folks can come on down to Moonshot Museum and see this at different stages of development. So what we're seeing through the window is going to look very different in a couple months.
Sure.
But you can see Griffin being constructed in real time.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I love going to the Smithsonian and seeing aircraft and spaceships that have already made their accomplishments, but I think it's also just so one of a kind to see a spaceship before it's actually gone out to space and to have that kind of access.
Well, pretty lucky here in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
I think. All right, so what do we have here, Mike?
So this is a chance to be a lunar geologist, explore the surface of the moon, and also see where past, present, and future missions are going.
Okay. So they're actually planned as to where they are going to land. It's not just okay, let's land here today.
Right.
Specific reasons things are picked. So, but we, like you just brought up, Apollo 11 landed in this spot. So you can change and see all the different locations on the moon for Apollo or for the new flights.
Yeah, this is, I brought up Apollo 11, and when you look at a full moon in the sky, that patch right there, that's the Sea of Tranquility.
Okay.
Something people can just find without even a telescope. But that's the landing site, and it has Buzz Aldrin standing there with the flag, which was actually, it was a Pittsburgher who figured out how to make the flag look like it was flying on the moon. So Pittsburgh, I think it's always been our birthright in Pittsburgh to be going to the moon.
Yep.
And you can see where things are coming up next. So yeah, that's
And then this is a future
Yeah, so that's what's planned for the future. On the far side of the moon, what you just found is a potential site for a radio telescope. So taking a crater and using it as sort of a natural dish to build a robotic telescope, kind of turned away from Earth and all of its radio chatter, and just peer out into the cosmos and get some great data.
Kind of gives me another whole realm of what I'm going to be looking for when I look up at the moon every night.
Yeah, for sure. Here we have Peregrine's landing site. So the Peregrine spacecraft, that'll be the first lunar lander. It's actually finished, and folks can see that here at the museum this summer. It's going to be landing up near the top left side of the near side of the moon. This area here, this dark spot, is called the Ocean of Storms. And right near the top, we're landing in a region called Gruithuisen domes, or G-domes. These are basically collapsed volcanoes. And we want to go in and get a better look at the geology.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I'll point out one, too, at the south pole of the moon, because this is where Griffin's going to be heading next year to the South Pole. We know there's a lot of ice there, and so that's why NASA's Artemis program is really focused on the South Pole for future human settlement. And so Griffin will be landing there in late 2024 to deliver a NASA robot to look for ice.
Okay, and once they find ice and they have water, then it could sustain life.
Yeah, absolutely. We can sustain life. They can drink the water, grow plants. They can even break that H2O apart to get hydrogen for rocket fuel to launch from the moon in the future. And of course, they have oxygen as well from that H2O to breathe. So.
All right. So this looks like a future hotel on the moon?
Right, yeah. This is our vision of what the moon will be like in about 50 years. And it's grounded in real science and what's happening today. This is Shackleton Crater.
Okay.
This is the lunar South Pole.
South Pole.
Yeah. All the stars you see in the sky are as they would appear at that location on the moon. And because we're at the South Pole, the sun never gets very high in the horizon. It's very low on the horizon, so we see these long shadows. Sunlight never gets inside craters like Shackleton.
Okay.
And so we believe that comets, basically eons ago, smashed into these craters, deposited ice that has never seen sunlight, so it's never melted. So we're going to go there and harvest that ice and use it to build settlements like these.
Okay. And then also you have a poster over here. What is this that we're looking at?
Yeah, so this is a concept for a future rover that could descend through a lava tube. So basically a channel underground to a colossal cavern that would have been carved out early in the moon's history. The moon was actually once very volcanic, very dynamic moon, and all the dark patches you see in the sky were carved out by space volcanoes. And we believe there are caverns underground that could easily swallow up downtown Pittsburgh.
Wow.
The temperature is a lot more consistent underground than it is on the surface. So we want to find lava tubes, and this is a skylight here, basically that opening into the lava tube. We want to find those skylights that will lead us underground and find potential settlement sites.
So it's warmer inside the moon, you think?
It's sort of a nice, consistent 60, 65 degrees.
Really?
Yeah, there's based on one area called Marius Hills Pit. That a satellite in orbit, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, has monitored it and found that it stays a constant 60, 65 degrees Fahrenheit.
Amazing.
So nicer at the moon some days than
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. On the surface of the moon, though, Pittsburgh definitely wins in the long run. Surface of the moon can be literally boiling hot during the day and cryogenic freezing temperatures at night.
Wow.
So that's why these underground caverns are of such interest for a potential settlement.
Okay, so the settlement will be using the below ground on the moon
Right.
and the surface.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, underground is a great option for a nice temperature, for protection from radiation, where we don't have an atmosphere to shield us, from protection from micrometeorites. So there's a lot of advantage to building underground. And then there's a lot of advantage also to building at the South Pole because of that access to light. And what you see here at this settlement are concepts for future rovers that would actually scoop up the moon dust and 3D print habitats. So instead of taking everything with us from Earth, and lugging all that into space, we could actually learn to live off the land more efficiently. Kind of build out that sustainable architecture using 3D printing, additive manufacturing, apply that tech back to life on Earth, but also use the moon as our next door neighbor to test out these technologies to prepare us to go to Mars.
All right, so what do we have here, Mike?
So this is a station where you can design your own mission patch. As you are imagining yourself as a lunar settler, design a patch that reflects the values of you and your crew on the moon. And then once you've created that patch, you can actually scan that. So see, we've got some art here today.
Nice.
And we're going to take this beautiful image of the space shuttle, pop it in our scanner, and then feel free to begin scan. And we've got it lined up. And we'll go ahead and complete the scan. And then we're going to transfer it to the moon. And there's your artwork.
Pops up.
Yeah. So that is displayed on a mountain near the south pole of the moon where we'll be landing next year.
It's fun. Fun for the kids.
Yeah.
Scavenger hunt, Mike. It's another pretty cool interactive game for your guests to do.
Yeah. So this is a chance to, I think, read about different people in the space industry and whether they are.
They're not all astronauts.
They're definitely not.
There's only a few of those compared to the thousands of everyone else.
Yeah, and there's a way for everyone else, very exciting ways that people can plug into space, so they can learn about folks working in law, in medicine, in different trades, in ecology, in
biology,
math. Absolutely, and learn about those different pathways. Read about real people living and working in Pittsburgh today, and the path they took, and then they can find some fun objects, punch in the codes, and see how many they can collect. So.
It's a lot for people to do here of all
Yeah.
ages. So great place to come and visit. I hope you're pretty busy this summer.
I hope so too. And I hope it's a place that people are inspired to take the next step, whether it's looking up at the moon and the sky more in a different way through a telescope, whether it's considering a career in space one day. I hope this is a place that kind of sparks that.
And I think that was part of the idea of John, the founder, to build this.
Yeah, absolutely. To have a place where everyone can come, and whether they love space or not, when they come in the door, by the time they leave, space is on their minds, it's in their hearts, and they're thinking about a next step. For me, I know when I was a kid, thinking back to my first telescope. When I was a kid, I dreamed about coming down the ladder and being the first person on Mars. But I hope that this is a place where we can inspire similar dreams. Both for folks who go to space and everyone else who's working here on Earth to support that.
I think I was maybe 6 when I got my first telescope.
Yeah.
So still have it, I think. Got to find it when I go home.
And I still love looking through it today. And I think the moon is a great place to start with one too.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much to explore.
My exciting part, heart and soul. What are we looking at here?
So this is the pride of Pittsburgh. This is Peregrine, named for the Peregrine Falcon. The Peregrine lander is making history later this year. This is Astrobotic's spacecraft. It will be the first commercial lunar lander in history. This is also the first American spacecraft that's going to touch down on lunar soil in over 50 years since Apollo 17. So,
and you've
makes
watched
me so excited.
You've watched it being built.
I have, yeah. I've seen it in construction for over a year now.
Okay. So you saw with just little pieces, and as it grows and grows and grows.
Yeah.
So.
And that's what we're seeing with Griffin now at the museum too, with the next lander. We're seeing it in pieces, kind of the erector set coming together to create this amazing lander.
Can you point out a couple things to it? What's the little wheels right here on this side facing us?
That's a robot built by college students at Carnegie Mellon.
Okay.
It's going to be the first robotic rover on the moon, built by college kids, which I think is amazing. Its name is Iris. And it will drop off of Peregrine after landing. It will be deployed and explore the geology of some volcanic terrain that was selected because it just has an intriguing mineral composition, and we want to learn more about these extinct volcanoes. So Iris is one of my favorite payloads. That's where you see the bottle cap kind of wheels. There are 11 different payloads from NASA exploring the moon for ice for potential fuel.
And it's all on here now.
Yeah.
This is complete.
Yeah, it is complete. There's digital artwork that's been scanned and stored on the spacecraft. So visitors to Moonshot Museum can actually write or draw their own messages and they will go on the next spaceship. They'll take the next ride to the moon. So if you want to send a message, send a hope to the moon, and then look up at the sky and know it's up there
Yep,
forever.
Your message is there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've also got some really fun things too. This one I think is kind of whimsical and fun. It's a pop can. It'll be the first cola drink on the moon. It's the Lunar Dream Capsule from Japan. It's called Pocari Sweat, and there's a powdered version of an energy drink, essentially, that will be landing on the moon as well. Right next to some
Okay.
cutting-edge science.
So when do you expect this to be packed up and sent to NASA?
So she's all ready to go. Everything's finished, and we're just waiting for our ride to complete on the Vulcan Centaur. So I'm expecting that later in 2023 we're going to be seeing Peregrine touching down on the moon.
You gonna be sad?
I am going to miss it a little bit.
Okay. But also probably pretty excited.
Very excited.
Yeah.
I will miss seeing her here every day, but excited that Griffin is under construction right now, and we'll have something else to
Right,
take
so
a look
you'll
at.
just see the next one being built. But
Yeah.
mission control for the landing is actually here too.
Yeah, if you look right through those windows,
Uh-huh.
that's mission control. So the minute Peregrine leaves Earth's atmosphere, Pittsburgh takes over. For the entire flight to the moon, for the landing, for the science, all of that's being done by people who live and work right here in our backyards. It's exciting.
While that's going on, I bet your museum's going to be a little bit busy.
I think we're going to be extremely busy.
Yeah.
Hope people will come down for it. Hoping to get in there if I can.
That would be nice. So just, it takes my breath away to stand here and just stare at it, just to look at it. It's very exciting and
Yeah.
humbling to know it's all coming from our hometown.
It is, and to think it's a logical next step for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
We have this proud tradition of making things. You know, we built a nation with steel and aluminum and glass, and the city of makers, and now we make spacecraft, and that's the next frontier where Pittsburgh's going to be planting our flag.
Well, Mike, there's a lot of contributors that really help put this museum together, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Moonshot Museum could not exist today if it weren't from the support of all of these foundations and corporations, I think, who believe in the future of Pittsburgh
Right.
as a center of the space industry. We're very grateful for that.
And they're all Pittsburgh-based.
And they are, yeah. It I think speaks to Pittsburgh's legacy and also Pittsburgh's leadership in what's coming up next. And we're just getting started.
No, you are.
Yeah, we open in October. We have an on-site mission that students can experience. We're open for the general public. We do outreach to schools and libraries, and we're creating new programs all the time. We have an educators roundtable that we invite teachers to be a part of, a virtual roundtable that will be meeting next week, so that we can hear from schools and what they need and how we can meet those needs and
fill
connect
the
their
needs.
kids to space.
Well, I appreciate, Mike, you taking so much time to show us around and show our viewers around. It's been fun, and it's been very, very educational. So I can feel the love, the passion that you have for space, astronomy, and what's going on here. But the thought of seeing the equipment built and then it's going to be launched, that's very, very exciting. And you know, I appreciate you sharing your story here with all of us on BPTV.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. This was super exciting. I'm excited that Pittsburgh's making history on the moon, and invite everyone to come down to Moonshot Museum and be part of our next steps making history in space.
Well, thank you again, and thank you everyone for watching BPTV. I'm your host, Andy Amrine, and I'll see you around town soon.